File I/O with fstream. If we want to read from and write to text files in our program, we need to include the fstream library. The ofstream data type allows us to create variables to write out to files, and the ifstream type allows us to create variables to read in from files. We declare variables using these two data types. After declaring our filestream variable, we can use the open function to open a file to read or write. Or we could pass in the file name at the same time as our variable declaration. If we're running our program from the command line, the open function will look in the same folder where your executable file is. If that file doesn't exist, then the ofstream variable will create the file before writing to it. But if we're using ifstream, and we're trying to read a file that doesn't exist, this will cause problems. Use an if statement and call inFile.fail. If it returns true, then the file failed to open. So how do we read and write with the fstream library? ofstream is related to cout, and ifstream is related to cin. We can use cout and the stream operator to output a string, and we can also create an ofstream variable and use outFile with the stream operator to output a string. We can use cin, the stream operator, and a variable name to read data from the keyboard into a variable, and we can also create an ifstream variable and use inFile, input stream operator, in a variable to read information from a file and save it in a variable. We can also do the same with getLine. If we want to read every line of a text file, one line at a time, we can use getLine within a while loop. Each iteration through the loop, one line of text will be stored in the string variable. Once we run out of lines in the input file, the loop will stop automatically. If we use a consistent, predictable format for our file output, we can then read that data back into the program on a later run. Using file streams to read and write program save data is a way you might store data long-term for school assignments. For more serious projects, usually you'd use some kind of library to save and parse more complicated formats, like XML or JSON. You could also write out any plain text format, not just text files, CSV, HTML, or even C++ code. But again, for real-world work, you'd be using a library instead of manually formatting and writing out to a file. For documentation, check out the C++.com documentation for ifstream and ofstream.